Hey guys, welcome back to another Spy Family Sunday. We have finally made it to chapter 100 of Spy Family. I can't believe we're here. I just want to say congratulations to Endo Sensei. He deserves it. This is a fantastic series, and this chapter was amazing. And in my personal opinion, very profound for a multitude of reasons. If you guys are new to the channel, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving me a comment because I do like discussing these chapters after they go up. So yeah, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So this chapter starts off with a flashback within a flashback, if that makes sense. It's a few months before the wars end and before Henry found out, the massive casualties that happened within Martha's regiment. We start off, there's a bunch of chaos going on. It's war. You see this panel of Martha looking terrified as this bomb or missile or something is basically coming straight at her, and there's this huge and everything just goes flying. Martha is unconscious for a period of time because she's like, how long was I unconscious? What's going on? How am I alive? And she's looking pretty rough. Cuts all over her face. One of her eyes is swollen. She can barely stand. And this is an important panel because when she gets up, she's leaning on a weapon that was manufactured by the Black Bell company. So we get confirmation, a little bit more information about the Black Bells. They were making war machines, basically. And, Martha is in a place where she's just over all of this. She's leaning on it. One of her fingers is busted. It's broken, and she's just saying, thanks, Black Bells, for providing this war with more heavy artillery. So as of right now, she does not have a favorable impression of the Black Bells, which is interesting because she ends up working for them. The world building is excellent. So I can't wait to find out how her worldview was shifted. And so Martha's walking along the battlefield, and she just sees her fallen comrades, Jasmine, Linda, Veronica. They're just laying in pieces. Martha assumes that she survived just because she was shielded by this giant weapon, this tank, I'm guessing. She starts crying, and she's going back to the dugouts where the rest of her battalion is, and they're scared for their lives. They're screaming, they want to leave. One of the commanders is like, you can't abandon your post or I'll put you down like a dog right here. So it's a lose-lose situation. Naturally, people facing this high level of stress are, they're spiraling. They want to go home. They don't want to have anything to do with this. Everybody's pretty much fed up with the war. And Martha's world is just sort of shattered because she's like, what the hell? Either I'm killed by my commanding officer or I'm killed by soldiers. And I guess her signing up for this position, forced to sign up for this position, she thought the standards would be higher. But, in war, it doesn't matter. And while Martha's sort of digesting all of this information, one of the commanders is like, enemy fire incoming. And then there's another giant explosion. People go flying everywhere. And the commanders are like, you know what? Retreat to the channels, in the woods to the south. Let's get out of here. Martha's sort of staggering on the field. And she's like, wait, wait for me. And so she ends up in the forest all alone. And so she's walking, she's cold, she's thinking about Henry, she's thinking about her parents, and you can tell that she's basically starting to give up. There's some noise behind her, and it turns out that she's being chased by some enemy soldiers, and they're like, a woman, and it's like, oh, it must be one of those Eastern soldiers. And so she's running from them. She turns and she fires on them. They get the drop on her, shoot her in the shoulder, and she falls into a stream or a river that's below. And then we transition to where we were at the end of chapter 99. And so Martha regains consciousness, and she's like, where am I? Whose place is this? And then there's this cute little dog that barks. It looks like a border collie. And he barks and sort of startles Martha out of her sleep. And she's like, my wounds have been treated. I'm in a proper bed? Did I make it back to Estonia? And then we get this panel of this elderly woman, and she just has no emotion on her face, just deadpan. They make eye contact. Martha's sort of like, wait a minute, like, what's going on? Where am I? The old woman says, this is Westalis, Estonian soldier girl. The old woman is telling her, don't get up. Nobody's gonna hurt you here. If I wanted to kill you, I would have killed you already. Martha's sort of in shock by all of this, and she's like, you'd better thank this dog. Baron is the one that found you, half dead at the bottom of the bank. Martha's sort of having this internal dialogue, and she's like, this woman does not care about me at all. Like, she's scowling, but she treated my wounds, she's giving me food, she's providing me a place to sleep. And Martha's looking around the room that she's staying in, and you see this panel of what I'm assuming is the old woman and her family. The dog's there, a soldier's there, and then a woman is standing there, and she looks to be wearing like a nurse's sort of outfit. And Martha is eventually able to get up, and she's staggering down the hallway, and she's like, she finds the woman, and she's like, excuse me, my clothes. And the woman's like, oh, you mean your uniform? I threw those rags out, but feel free to take anything from my daughter's things that you want. Martha's like, your daughter? I could never do that. The old woman reveals she doesn't need them anymore. The only part of her that came back was her right leg. Martha laments on this, and she's like, so she was part of the war too. And in spite of that, she's not angry at me, and she's caring for me. Martha starts to recover a little bit better, and she's like, I can move now, so I can help you around here if you'd like. Their conversation is interrupted because the old woman is outside, and Martha's coming up to the door. A mailman is coming up, and he's like, Miss Annabelle, you have some mail from town. And he's like, are you with somebody? Is somebody with you today? And then you see the dog. He comes out of the door, and he's barking. The mail carrier's just telling her, you want to be careful. We've had some of these Estonian soldiers that have escaped. They've been breaking into people's homes, looking for food and things like that. And Annabelle tells Martha, this village is full of refugees, those peoples whose homes were burned down and have nowhere else to go. And, showing your face around here, you're just going to get yourself killed. She's thinking about everything that's happened in this war, and she's like dumping a girl on the front lines. Like, what is Estonia thinking? They're just as horrible as we assume them to be. At first, Martha doesn't really have anything that she can say to refute that, but she's like, well, if it wasn't, for you people here in the West, and, she starts crying, and she's like, I never wanted to do any of this. I just want to go home. And Annabelle tells her, then go already. So as long as you're here, I'm in danger too. And she's like, just pretend that we never met. And Martha's like, sure, I'll sneak out tonight. And so Martha packs up all her things, she leaves, she gives Baron a few pets on the head, and so she leaves in the dead of night. It's freezing. She's like, I'm cold. I can't find my sense of direction. It's pitch black. And so she's sitting under this giant boulder, and she's like, I'm getting hungry. So she looks through the backpack, and she finds 2 days worth of bread and some money, a warm scarf, and then a map. It looks like Annabelle wrote on the corner of the map, she said, go home. Martha's really moved by that. She starts crying, and she's like telling Henry, the night sky is beautiful in Westalis. There's delicious bread, and there's kind-hearted people. And she's like, I've got so many things that I want to tell you, like the things that I have experienced. And that's just how the chapter ends. And man, this chapter, guys, this chapter had me emotional. It just goes to show you that, in war, again, nobody wins, everybody loses. But there are these bright spots that you can find in humanity. This chapter just, despite the last few chapters being so dark and heavy, this was the light that we needed within the flashback of these chapters. So it was a great chapter. I don't know what's going to happen in the next chapter, considering Henry is already married. I don't know if Martha is actually going to make it home. I mean, obviously she does, but then how does she end up within the employ of the Blackbells? There's a lot in the middle of what is currently happening and then her current position. So yeah, I feel like the next chapter is also going to be bittersweet when she finally gets home, finds out that Henry's married and has moved on. So yeah, great chapter. Endo is a genius at world building. I mean, there's nothing else that can be said. He's really good at world building, and I know that people want to get back to the Foragers and Anya and Yor and Lloyd, And I do too. I want to know what's going on with them. But this is very important because Martha experienced kindness from the enemy. So in our current timeline, assuming things end up where we all think the story is going to end up, people find out that Lloyd is a spy from Westalis trying to prevent a war with Astania. At least if Lloyd is found out, you know that Martha is at least going to back him because she was showed kindness from a woman who was her enemy. So like these small moments, they have impacts on people. I think this was important. This was an important flashback within the grand scale of the entire story, because war is not something that anybody wants, and Martha was clearly traumatized by this entire war, as was everybody else. So I do think that that bit of information is very important for the overall story. So yeah, anyways, love the chapter. It was fantastic. Let me know what you guys thought about this chapter in the comments, and until next time, remember to be awesome and stay true.